How's everybody doing? This is MongoSlade. I am here at 7 o'clock. It's matinee hours on the channel. I just wanted to stop by for a few minutes and say what's up. I know usually do our show on Sundays, so I'm here. Haven't been to sleep in 24 hours maybe, but it's okay. I guess I'll sleep tonight. So I really don't have any one thing I want to discuss or talk about. So I guess we could get to some of the things that I didn't talk about probably last week because I got so distracted with some of the mumbo jumbo that was going on in the world. I know I feel like super tired. So how's everybody doing? I know that people are not expecting me to be here so early. They usually have the shows at 8 o'clock. We're doing them at matinee hours this time. You know, glad everybody is if you hear, even if you're listening to it a little bit later, glad you stopped by. Ryan Gracie, how you doing? Sean Ducharme. Yeah, the Lions won, which was awesome. That. I watched the game too, which was even better. Because I very rarely watch football, but I've been watching the games because for some reason they've been pulling me through. I've been all right. I don't know about next week though. Royal Rumble is next week. I know the game is on Sunday, but we gonna see how that weekend goes. But um, I know there had to be some things from I think maybe a week or so ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago that I was wanted to talk about that I didn't, and I can't really think of what those things are at the moment. I know I was supposed to talk about Blue Eyed Samurai. I was supposed to talk about that, and maybe I was supposed to talk about some other things that I don't really remember right now. Not really relevant anyway. Um, I did a lot better. I'm guessing it was Ducharme. It looks like it's a Cajun or something. So, uh, but some people I can understand how you might pronounce it how it looks like Ducharme or something like that. But I always imagined that it was like Cajun when I looked at it. What is my thoughts on AEW possibly taking Okada? Well, I mean, I expect it. It's exactly what I expect. So it's not. It doesn't really affect me one way or the other. Um, I've been paying attention to a lot. Not necessarily the fact that he left, which of course is surprising, but I was I was more looking at the stories of why. Uh, it's French Canadian. Okay, cool. That's very cool. Uh, and Kevin Kelly, he I did a video talking about Okada and what was going on, you know, and I felt like it was only like 8 minutes, and then Kevin Kelly did an interview that pretty much said exactly what I was going to say, and it ended up I could have extended it to probably about 15 or 20 minutes using Kevin Kelly, but my idea was that essentially he's only really leaving because financially it's the craps in Japan right now, and the yen is falling, and maybe he wants to get paid in U.S. dollars, and that seems to be the reason why he's leaving. I know that Meltzer and all of these guys have no information. These guys are low information reporters. I mean, they really are. Uh, I guess that kind of goes into something I did want to talk about, and that is Sports Illustrated. You know, Sports Illustrated seemingly about to go out of business. They laid off the entire staff, of which Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez worked for Sports Illustrated. A lot of people blamed the death of Sports Illustrated on a lot of the woke swimsuit stuff, with them putting a trans person and obese women and stuff on the covers of the magazines, But those were individual magazines. You have to understand that the entire print business has changed. There's plenty of magazines that used to be print that now are 100% online, and they're barely hanging on as it is. You know, Sports Illustrated hasn't done anything in forever that I felt was necessary. They keep getting beat to stories, but the biggest problem is it's a little bit of a political issue. Is when everybody has the same opinion, why should they listen to you? When everybody has the same opinion, why should they click on your stuff? When Sports Illustrated was doing interesting sports articles about, what happened to the white athlete, where's my daddy, and the rise of baby daddyism in the NBA and the NFL and in sports in general, or how athletes end up going broke, which is probably one of my favorite Sports Illustrated ESPN stories. When you have that kind of stuff happening and you have a 24-hour news cycle, so people aren't getting their sports news from Sports Illustrated anymore. They're not even getting really good articles from Sports Illustrated anymore because there's Outkick, there's The Athletic, there's tons of other sites that you can get sports stuff from, and all of it with the same slant. Why should they listen to you? Why should they care about you? And then when you take something that I don't want to say it was sacred, but it was kind of a tradition when it comes to like the swimsuit issue, and then turn it into a woke media thing, you basically spit in the face of your target audience. Now I know there's been this debate, the razor fist versus the Tim Pool. The Tim Pool is the get woke, go broke, meaning that these companies get woke, and then all of a sudden they start losing tons of money and end up going broke. But then the razor fist has it the opposite, that the companies get woke because they're already broke. They don't have any money, and their opportunity to try to break through is by going woke and trying to appeal to a different audience. And both of them end the same way, so it doesn't matter how we got there. It ends the same way. But Sports Illustrated, I knew it was going to happen. Not specifically, but I imagine every brand that you loved as a youngster is going to be gone. Double XL, The Source, Sports Illustrated, Maxim, King Magazine, all the magazines that you see at the magazine rack, all them joints going to be gone. Playboy, Hustler, all of them going to be gone because they're all doing the same thing. They all suffer from the same problem. The porno mags is porn everywhere. Why the hell would you sit here and look at pictures of, maybe models, but now they're not even models anymore. You can't even tell if they're men or women anymore. And you got OnlyFans, and you got Pornhub. You can get porn right off Twitter. Whatever. Like, you don't need to buy Hustler or Playboy or anything like that anymore. The competition is so much greater now than it was when I was a kid. These companies are not going to be able to survive. It's even as an online site, unless you go and you start really doing some hard hitting, interesting stuff that people are willing to pay for, and they won't do that at all. So, it's just the cost of doing business as eventually you become obsolete. And that's where, the people who are owning the brand managers are supposed to be the folks who are taking it and updating it for a new generation. But instead, what they're doing is trying to appeal to people who never liked the magazine in the first place and never wanted to read the magazine in the first place and never really cared about it, and ended up just turning off the people who was already reading it. Ducharme says they need to hire whoever interviewed Vince for Playboy. That was probably the most revealing thing we ever got on Vince. The Playboy article, see, the thing is, Playboy used to be intelligent with the people they interviewed. They would interview people who were interesting characters, like Jesse the Body Ventura and Vince McMahon and stuff like that. And they would say provocative things because they would ask provocative questions. Like, Playboy would ask interesting questions, completely different questions that anybody else would ask. Like, that was what makes those, like, I don't see anybody ever ask Vince the same kind of questions that Playboy asked him. Ain't nobody would have ever asked him some of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So there was an opportunity there to do something completely new and completely different, and it made for a very enjoyable interview. Now everybody just wants to talk about scandals, scandals, scandals. Everybody wants to slant everything. Everybody wants to talk about the same shit. So how can you make it when everybody's doing what you do? You know, Dylan Mulvaney is gonna be the first trans on the cover of Playboy. Well, what you're looking at is that Playboy is dead. You know, it died with Hugh Hefner, and then they everybody decided to sue him after he died, so they're gonna end up killing that estate. It's gonna be tons of money getting paid out because all of a sudden he became a rapist or whatever after he died. Like you know how people do, and it's highly unfortunate. But Playboy was gonna go out of business anyway because there's no market for. I mean, the market is there always because it's porn. But who the hell is going to pay for still frames of naked models? You can see those naked models do sex acts on OnlyFans, or you can see them on Pornhub, Spread Eagle, or even if it's a chick that don't look exactly the same, it's a chick that look kind of like her. You know, if you squint and you're drunk enough, she look just like her. AJ3 said, "Did you hear about all the all men indie wrestling promotion on the rise? They got everyone in a tizzy." Yeah, it's a troll. There's no way it's not real. It's not real. It's a troll. I'm not dumb enough to think that they're going to start an all men's wrestling promotion and people are going to actually talk about it and it's actually going to get any attention. You really don't need to do that. You could just run a promotion and just don't book women. You know. Yeah, Vince was talking about. I mean, that was the brilliance of doing interviews for things like Playboy and stuff is it would get real deep. They wasn't really dealing with the superficial. And sometimes because it's Playboy, people think it's not nothing real with it, but they would go deep on people, asking them personal questions, asking them political questions, and trying to figure out how this person thinks, how this person feels, rather than the interviewer putting himself in the middle of the story and it's a me versus you. I got to make sure I get my shit in. Yeah, Instagram is really good for like naked chicks if that's your thing. So I don't know. Uh, I'm gonna eventually get. I'm talking about Sports Illustrated going out of business right now. I know it's not officially closed yet, but it's going to be closed. I mean, they may try to reboot the brand, but it's over. You know, it's just who are you going to have write the articles? You know, there's just a plethora of the people who say the same thing and do the same thing. I just don't see how you're going to individualize Sports Illustrated from any other sports journalism outlet. You know, it just won't work. Yeah, New Japan has always been, but it's also Japanese. Like we're talking about, it's an American, I believe, wrestling promotion that was supposed to be started. It was going to be all male, and they said that there's going to be women there, but they'll be like the managers, commentators, backstage interviewers, and stuff. There's nobody gonna let them get away with that. Not in the United States. Not in today's political climate. You're not gonna let them get away with it. But my favorite um, Sports Illustrated did a really good story on the WWF. I talk about it a lot. I reference it quite a bit. So that's one of my favorite Sports Illustrated stories. You know, there's it's it's an amazing outlet, and they let it go to shit. You know, they ruined it, and there's not much you can do about it. They But 30 for 30 broke. That's probably the best piece of sports journalism I've followed in a long time. If you've never watched it, I highly suggest you go online, maybe even right after this live stream, and look it up. It's called Broke. ESPN 30 for 30 with in collaboration with Sports Illustrated. It is a brilliant piece of sports journalism. It's very good. But right now it's over. I don't see Sports Illustrated coming back from this. I don't see how it can. Like, how can you come back from this? You pretty much pissed off all of the people who work there, and then all of their friends. So, well, they still got Outkick and the Atlantic and the Athletic. A lot of other sites with some money that run and do sports. You still got 24 hours of sports with ESPN. You still got Fox Sports Net. You still got the various sports commentators on YouTube. You still got Pat McAfee, and there's tons of sports content out there for you if you want that. So because there's so much competition, Sports Illustrated hasn't done anything to individualize itself. It's essentially just a legacy brand, and legacy don't mean much of anything today. So they don't have nothing going for them. It's over. But that was probably the biggest story outside of wrestling, of course. As I have to repeat, Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer also worked for Sports Illustrated, so they lost their jobs. I don't even have the energy to celebrate. But it's entertaining to say the least. I haven't watched anything new really. I was thinking mostly when I was up all night. I don't have a laptop, but I wanted to write. I haven't written anything in over a year, and I was going back through and I was reading things that I had written a long time ago, and I was like, man, I need to finish this. But I don't know if I'm ever going to have time to. And I know if I get a laptop or something, I'm probably just going to end up writing something completely different. But I found some really cool stories that I've written that are like half finished. And there's the bits of me who's saying basically, write it on your phone, just do it. And I was like, no, I don't want to write it on my phone. But I'm gonna sit down probably and start jotting some ideas down like I used to, and get back to that. I still buy comic books. AJ3. I still buy manga. I was reading Black Lagoon, so I guess we could talk about that. I got the first 3 volumes of Black Lagoon. I got the next 4 coming. They'll be here on Friday. It's like a 12-volume set. Came out in like the early 2000s. It's a good series. I'm thoroughly enjoying reading it. I watched the anime already, but it was so long ago that I don't really remember it. I just remember it being like kind of Cowboy Bebop-ish, except for they are on a boat. That's the only thing. Oh yeah, I do want to talk about this because it was an interesting thing that I didn't notice. So I saw that there was coming out with another Final Fantasy VII reboot, and I say, like, man, all these reboots. You know what? I never see out of these reboots. Like, there was Barrett from Final Fantasy VII. Like, I never see him in these reboots, when people are posting like still frames of the characters and stuff, I see like, of course, Tifa, Cloud, and Ares. I just never see Barrett ever. I've seen people post Sid. I've seen people post Yuki, but never Barrett. So I went and looked to make sure he was still in the fucking game, because I'm thinking like, did he get cut out the game? And then I end up on the Wikipedia account, and I'm looking at the wiki, and for some odd reason, in the wiki, it's like the depiction of Barrett in the video games was racist. I'm like, what? Like, there were 6 teenage black boys playing Final Fantasy VII at the site. There was 3 discs. Each one of us had like a different, like my friend who actually bought it, he would finish the first disc and he would give it to somebody else, and then that person would work on it. And then when he get done with the second disc, like that's how we played that game, like 4 or 5 of us. Nobody got the idea that the character was racist. Where did that come from? I didn't, I looked at it, I tried to get a sense of it, and I was just like, what about the character is racist? And then I haven't actually read it. The interesting thing is, it seems to be it's racist because of the way he speaks. They had him speak in Ebonics, and they figured that was racist. And I'm like, there's nothing racist about a black character speaking Ebonics. I didn't like. I played Dirge of Cerberus, by the way. Vincent Valentine's game. I played that, but I was shocked to see that people were like still calling the depiction of Barrett racist and talking about how he looks like Mr. T. And I said, well, look, the Japanese have always taken famous people and did characters based on, like, how many Bruce Lees are there? And among every fighting game has a Bruce Lee character, and they're always Chinese. Every Chinese character in every martial arts game in Japan is Bruce Lee or Bruce Lee adjacent. Is that racist? When they did Balrog, he was obviously based off Mike Tyson. Like, you can. It's not a bad thing to say, well, this is a famous black man. We're going to make a character that's kind of looks like him, kind of based on him a little bit. But I was trying to remember, because I ain't played Final Fantasy VII in forever. I can't tell you anything about the game that would make me think that Barrett was racist. I mean, he was an eco-terrorist, but then again, they all were. He had he had a little baby he was taking care of and everything, so he was a good dad. What about the character is racist? I don't get it. I couldn't figure it out. But that's when I realized, man, I didn't have to figure it out. It wasn't about that. It was about the people who are doing the evaluation. Those people see racism in everything, bro. They'll find racism in a bowl of oatmeal, dog. I swear to God. It's the dumbest shit in the world. Well, it answered my question. He is in the game. So that's all I cared about. I'm not going to buy it. I don't care how many reboots they make. I'm not going to buy them. They're not doing anything but expanding the lore anyway. And in turn, making the original game less and less interesting, because now they're adding so much. A lot of the characters that were not really important in the original games now are like all up and through the lore. And I haven't been following the lore of Final Fantasy VII, which they really should just change the name of it to make it its own thing. They won't change that though. A lot of the stuff that they willing to go in there, and I saw that the creators and all of them was talking about their depiction of like climate change and stuff like that in the game, and how they're ashamed of it. The game came out in 1996, 1997. That's just 30 years ago, man. But everybody bitched and moaned and complained and whined, and so they left Cloud cross-dressing in the game. And so they listening to the wrong people. He definitely listening to the wrong people. The same people who say that Tifa's titties are too big. You know, like these weirdos. But I didn't think anything was wrong with the original. I was fine with them doing some spin-off games like Dirge of Cerberus. I thought that was fine. I don't remember much about the game except for the first-person shooter. But I had resigned myself to not follow. You know, I watched Advent Children, which I thought was pretty good. But I had pretty much resigned that I wasn't going to follow all of the Final Fantasy 7 lore. I wasn't going to follow it. I liked the game. I loved the game. I thought it was great. Kingdom Hearts, I played the first one, but I wasn't going to follow and go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I did play Final Fantasy 9, actually. It was my least favorite Final Fantasy game. Before I played, was it 13? I didn't care for 13 either. I don't even think I finished it. I got 13 X2 or something like that. 13 Part 2, and I didn't beat that either. I just played it and got bored. Have I tried to play the game called Pal World? No, I never even heard of it. But yeah, Final Fantasy 9, it had I'm not going to lie to you though, Final Fantasy 9 had a big influence on me in terms of a story that I wanted to write. It gave me a really good plot for a story that I wanted to write. And the Final Fantasy 9 story um, was the one I think I'm going to rip off. I just have to put it the way that I want to, but I think that's going to be the one I rip off. Because I didn't really like the game, but I liked the one of the plots in there. I'm not going to say which one, but I liked one of the plots. So I'm going to go ahead and borrow that. So we'll see. I've already started. I mean, I've already written it, but I want to change something. 9 had to grow on you. I didn't like 9 or 10. I don't remember 11 or 12 or 13 really. I liked 8. 8 was fun. I liked 7 and 8. Those were fun. Wait, for the record, let me make sure. Zidane was the main character of Final Fantasy 9, right? The kid with the monkey tail. I had to make sure that I'm talking about the right one because I sometimes don't remember the names of these characters because like in those games you could change the characters' names, so I would almost always change the characters' names. Um, so I try to remember what their names are. I don't remember the names of none of the characters in Final Fantasy 9 or 10. I don't remember none of those characters, and I wouldn't know the names of the Final Fantasy 7 characters, especially some of the ones you could change their names, if it hadn't been for how popular the medium became. Final Fantasy 8, I know the names of the characters only because I did follow the story a little bit more. I don't think I changed the names on that one. But 8, I think, is very underrated. 8 is underrated. A lot of people like 9 and 10. Wasn't a big fan of 10 with the underwater soccer or whatever it is that you had to play. Wasn't a big fan of that. I felt like those two characters were basically the same character. But I also felt like Zidane was kind of a rip off of Cloud a little bit. I think he ended up being a clone or something stupid like that. I was like, ugh. Blitzball. That's what it was called. It was like underwater soccer. I mean, I remember getting hooked on it at first. I was like, this shit kind of fun, and then I got bored of it, and like, oh no, this sucks. This Blitzball sucks. But it was nice having like the main character being like an athlete. Like that was cool. He wasn't like a vagabond or anything like that. He was like he was like a genuine, jock with a good heart and everything, as opposed to like the thief kid in 7 and the malcontent in 8, and Cloud was a mercenary with not much of a personality. Power World is like an American take on Pokemon. In other words, it's Pokemon with guns. Oh, good lord. What the hell? Why? Why do we need Pokemon with guns? Why is that important? Okay, well, at least they're welcome to try. I'm not gonna hate on it, but I wouldn't. I have no interest in it. Blitzball is easy to win once you get to that special kick. What's up, WG Phil? How you doing, man? But to go back to what I was saying, I didn't know Barrett was supposed to be racist. I was not. I was not aware when I was playing that game that anything about Barrett was racist. You know, I went to a woke middle school, which is what I was in when this game came out, Final Fantasy VII. So I was in tune of things being racist, and that wasn't it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. So, and I didn't know he was supposed to be racist until like today. Which is, I guess it's a good thing, I suppose. I know sometimes the Japanese people don't always draw black people like the best faces, like especially when it comes to like the lips and things like that. They tend to draw black characters like huge lips and shit. But that was them trying to be accurate to how black people look to them, which is strange. But okay, I wasn't like super angry about it. Like if he looked like Mr. Popo or something like that, maybe I'd have been upset. And even Mr. Popo is not supposed to be black. He's a black character, but he's not like supposed to be like a representation of black people in the United States. Like that's not really the character it's supposed to be. And I don't have a problem with Japanese folks taking, especially since they don't know that many. They have no black people in their country, so the only people they would know that would be black would either be Africans or Black Americans. So if they're going to sit down and make a character and this character is going to be black, he's probably going to be Black American. And then you look at the popular Black Americans, and you got a good subsection of people to base your characters on, you know. And then of course you have the occasional, like a Bob Sapp or something like that in their home country who's like a black man who went over there and became like a celebrity. But they don't have a lot of experience with black people. So I don't care that he looked like Mr. T. I didn't even think about it. Like I was used to, Balrog is just Mike Tyson. Like I don't care that he looked like Mr. T. I didn't care that Balrog looked like Mike Tyson. I didn't give a shit. I didn't understand how that is racist because Mr. T is fucking cool. So how is that racist? Like how is it racist when Mr. T is fucking cool? But then again, I mean, maybe it gets to the point where I don't know. It will require me putting more brain power into it than I want to come to the idea of why Barrett is a racist character. I just don't see it. It's dumb to me to even discuss it in that way. But there's people that have an entire section in the wiki about how the depiction of the character is racist, and it has a lot to do with his look, and it has a lot to do with him speaking Ebonics. And I was like, because he's the only character that talks like that. So I guess you get like the Cyborg situation from like the Justice League. Like he's the only character who says "booyah." Why is he the only one saying "booyah"? It's like because he said it in the cartoon, motherfucker. It's yeah, Mr. T, man, a black man main evented the first WrestleMania, the very first one. Probably wouldn't have happened without him in it. That's an amazing achievement. Mr. T fucking rules, dog. He was a TV star. 18 was huge. And you can definitely tell that Barrett is a pattern off of Mr. T. And Mr. T was still a huge star in the world. Why wouldn't he be? I mean, he wasn't as big as he was in the 80s, but if you're looking for jacked, military black dude, you got a couple. You got Carl Weathers, who had been in Predator. He had done a couple of other Schwarzenegger movies. He had been in Rocky. You had Mr. T. He was one you could have used, but those two were like the main black dudes who were in action flicks. You know, so why wouldn't you? They also do when it comes to Americans in Japan. They always do jacked Americans. Like every American is like super jacked and like obnoxiously patriotic. They're all like really blonde, super jacked, and patriotic. Like they got flag tattoos and big blonde hair and blue eyes. Like, man, there's not that many blonde white people in the United States. But in Japan, if you're a super American, you're into America. Fuck yeah, you're blonde haired and blue eyed. Did I see the atrocity they're doing with Jay White? Yeah, I saw it. I knew they was going to do that. I don't know what the point is of it. That's my thing. I don't understand what is the goal of that? Is what I'm trying to figure out. What is the goal of the gang bang scissor thing? What's the point? I don't know. I don't know what the point is. I don't know if I told y'all guys about watching Blue Eyed Samurai. I crushed that thing in like a weekend. It was like 8 episodes. They were about an hour apiece. It's a Netflix original. Um, it's a samurai show, but it was a lot of people had went after it saying it was woke, and I had to see for myself. The first episode was actually pretty good. I kind of I had the twist spoiled for me, um, and I went and watched it, and it gave me Samurai Champloo vibes, and so you could tell like they were watching like Samurai Jack and Samurai Champloo and stuff like that, and that was part of the creative process for Blue Eye Samurai. Um, and Kill Bill and things like that were central in how the things were put together. I didn't hate it. I actually kind of liked it, even though I did have my problems with it. It was like a mixture of Mulan, Kill Bill, and not Samurai Jack, but like Mulan, Kill Bill, and like traditional samurai, stories. So it wasn't horrible, but I don't. It's been a while since I watched it, so I can't remember about the idea of it is that this half Japanese, half white girl is looking for her European father so that she can kill him. And so she's going to kill all the Europeans who is in Japan, hoping to eventually find out which one of them is her father and to kill him. And she's going to kill them all anyway. But I never really fully understood why she wanted him to kill him. Like, yeah, she got bullied and picked on for being half white in Japan, but you don't see like her father abusing her or anything like that, abusing her mom. You just kind of see how like her life was shit, you know. And of course, it had. If you wanted to really dig, I guess you could look at some of the woke elements, like a lot of the male characters are ineffectual, you know, um, in terms of not only are they not as good as she is, they're like much weaker, much weaker, even physically weaker. But they didn't make the main character a lesbian, even though I thought that's the direction they were going in, but she's not a lesbian, so that worked out. And she had a genuine backstory, and she wasn't a Mary Sue. She was really good with a sword, but she was socially awkward and weird. Um, she was prickly, and she had she did things that made her not likable. She was morally ambiguous, a little morally flawed. So those were all good things about the series. I definitely would suggest people watch it. I know there are a lot of the people who I follow, like on Twitter and stuff, and we talk about writing and things like that. They're immediately turned off as a female protagonist. They're like, nah, we're not doing it. Female protagonist, not watching it. Don't want to see it. I'm I'm a little bit more loose on that. I don't necessarily have a problem with a female protagonist. I have a problem with the way female protagonists are written. And this one I think was written okay. She was still, physically stronger than the men, which I didn't care for. But I think the character was strong enough that I can overlook some of the things that they had done, some of the creative decisions that they made in terms of how her fighting skill is so much greater than every single man she comes across. Every single one, for Christ's sake. Literally doesn't make sense. Thanks. The Lions, they're doing really good. Hopefully, we could go to San Francisco and win, so we could tear the city up. This city is going to burn if the Lions win the Super Bowl. Somebody going to set some shit on fire. I can tell you that right now. I already know what's coming. Yes, I already know what's coming. All right. So I watched Bubblegum Crisis on Peacock. They have the English dub. The second time I watched Bubblegum Crisis, I watched it in Japanese first. This was a while back. It is a very good OVA series. It's about 6 episodes. It's all collected. Female protagonists. Again, I don't dislike female protagonists. They like, I don't want to say Power Rangers, but they're like mercenaries, and they handle robot related crimes. And it's a really fun series if you really want to sit back and watch it, especially since it was made in the 80s, and the soundtrack for Bubblegum Crisis is very important. The music really sets the mood, has that whole cyberpunk thing going on, and you could tell that Japan was in their bag when it came to that. Like when it came to Battle Angel Alita, Bubblegum Crisis, Dirty Pair, women in space or women dealing with robots and stuff like that. They were really in their bag at the time. You know, of course, the Ghost in the Machine, um, all these things, man, they were really kicking ass at that point in time when it comes to female-led sci-fi, and a lot of that stuff is really good. It doesn't come across as being stupid. I have a Dirty Pair manga actually. I know that they didn't have a consistent Dirty Pair like after volume of Dirty Pair. I do have the manga series, and I read it, and it's actually pretty funny. It's funny. It's also pretty interesting in terms of how their powers work through the power of lesbianism, which is very humorous, especially considering that's highly toned down in the anime series and the OVA series. Um, but Bubblegum Crisis is really good. I would suggest people watch that. I do want to watch Gungrave. I don't have anything else to watch, so I may watch Gungrave all over again. So if I come in this joint next week, beaming off of, well, I probably won't because the Lions gonna be playing, so I probably will skip this thing next week. But if I don't and I decide to do it, maybe I'll do it earlier in the day. It'll probably be Gungrave. Now I played Gungrave, the video game series, and I watched the anime series. And the anime series is so good. Oh my god, it's such a touching story. It's such a wonderful story. I wish people cared more about Gungrave as a series. That's if I was to give you some homework, that would be my homework is for you to watch Gungrave. Please watch Gungrave. It's actually especially if you're into anime, watch it. It's good. You know, the games are so old. I don't remember how far they diverge from the games, but it definitely fleshes out everything so much more. And I kind of want to steal the plot to that too because it's so underrated. And I just kind of want to be like, man, I could take this plot and do something so good with it. So I may steal the plot to Gungrave, but we'll see. I'm not against stealing plots, y'all. You know what? This is the other thing I did. I meant to talk about it. I read Frank Miller's Ronin. I finally read it. I've had it for a really long time, but I had not read it. I finally read it. Did not like it. It wasn't what I expected it to be. But reading Frank Miller's Ronin, oh my God. Gennady Tartakovsky owes him a royalty check because it's essentially Samurai Jack. You know, he changed certain things, but it's essentially Samurai Jack. And that's when I felt so much better saying, I'm just going to steal the plot to something, because Tartakovsky stole the plot of Frank Miller's Ronin and changed it to make Samurai Jack. And Samurai Jack rules. WG Field says, have you watched the Cider House Rules or Good Will Hunting manual? No. I probably watched Good Will Hunting. I probably have seen that. That's where the super smart guy was working as like a janitor or something like that, for an Ivy League school, and he ends up being smarter than everybody else and all that stuff. I remember seeing that movie. I don't remember it like thoroughly, but I remember watching it. At least I think that's what it was. You know, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what Good Will Hunting is. Cider House Rules? No, I've never seen that. I've never actually saw that. I tried watching Hercules, the series with Kevin Sorbo. I'm telling you, those things, that and Xena, man, those shows are very underrated. I didn't. The site that I used to watch these shows didn't have all of Hercules for me to watch, so I stopped watching after episode 1 because they didn't have 2, 3. It was like 1, 4, 8. I'm like, what? I can't watch this series like that with it jumping all over the place like this. Never underestimate a small woman. I went 10 toes down to flat 10 toes up in a second. Don't you 10 toes up, small woman, and cold gosh. Watch for the hook. Yeah, the Matt Damon movie. He was all handsome and smart in that joint. I remember that. 1 Hour Photo is tremendous. 1 Hour Photo is absolutely tremendous. It's so creepy. My respect for Robin Williams went through the roof for that and Insomnia. Both of those movies were very good. And they were him being darker, creepier. 1 Hour Photo is so creepy. I love that movie so much. Maybe next time me and a young lady hang out, I'm gonna get her to watch 1 Hour Photo. It's so creepy. I love it so much. I haven't seen it in a long time though, but I got it on DVD around here somewhere. Same thing with Insomnia. I haven't seen that in a long time either, but I know I got it on DVD around here somewhere. Have I ever watched Jim Carrey number 23? I think I have seen it, but I don't remember it. That was one of the more serious Jim Carrey movies. I've seen most of his comedies, but a lot of his quote-unquote serious films, I haven't sat down and watched them. I don't think I've sat down and watched that one. You notice I put serious in quotations because they, as comedians deciding they want to do drama. It's like, no, you're funny for a living. You look funny. I look at you and I laugh. You should just do comedy. But I have no problem with, Ace Ventura doing comedy. He's a serial killer. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll check it out. He's a serial killer. Ooh, that's interesting. Since Ron has eventually dropped out the race, you think there's a chance for Trump, or we have 4 more years of inflation and war? I think most people should have recognized that once Trump has decided to run and again, I don't necessarily support any individual person. I don't really support parties either. I just try to evaluate the things as I see them. And I saw DeSantis was off to a bad start. He doesn't have the charisma. He's got more of a success story than Trump. He just didn't have the energy. He didn't have the charisma. Vivek was the same way. Vivek had energy, but Vivek was like a Trump cheerleader, hoping that Trump would get taken out so that he could say all the things Trump would say and get all the Trump votes. But instead, it didn't quite work out for him. And it's like the Vivek thing was hilarious because he would have been. I mean, he's kind of corrupt. He's kind of a scam artist, how he made his money. But in terms of taking it to the media and taking it to the establishment, that's exactly what you want. But you asked about DeSantis, and I figured DeSantis should not have run for president while he was still governor of Florida. That was a mistake. That was a tactical error. I think Ryan DeSantis could have run for president after Trump and won. And but running for president while you're the governor is tacky. You know, it's like you're not finishing one job and you're already auditioning for another. It's kind of tacky. And basically, you've turned yourself into an opponent of Trump, which is dumb because all of his supporters are the people who like you. So then you turn all of those people against you because you're going against Trump. That was dumb. You know, that was a tactical error. Now he'll probably never be president. DeSantis could have been president for sure if he had waited. If he had decided, I'm going to wait for Trump to either lose again or wait for Trump to die or try to be the VP or something like that, then he definitely could have been president. But when he decided I can be president right now, I'm going to run right now, that was a mistake. Running against Trump was not smart. Same thing with Vivek. Same thing. You know, it was dumb to run for president right now. I think people was expecting the left to take Trump off the ballot. I think that's what they were looking forward to. They were looking forward to a bunch of states taking Trump off the ballot, and then they would just be like, we're going to get in office and we're going to set everything right. But, you know, it didn't happen the way that they wanted it to. It may still happen the way they wanted to, but they've already dropped out. Now everybody's against Nikki Haley, but Nikki Haley is awful. Like, she's truly, truly awful. And it's not just because of the election cycle. You could tell when she was governor of South Carolina, she was awful. You know, she's not built for the job. She's too soft-hearted. She's too, you know, attached to the establishment. You know, Trump got him elected in Florida. Falling Down was a good movie. Was that the one where Buddy got frustrated and picked up a gun and started acting a fool? If I remember that one. But to answer the question, I don't think the media will let Trump win. I'm not sure the media is going to let Trump win, dog. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not sold that the media is going to play fair. You know, last time they was able to beat Trump by just repeating negative things over and over and over again. They didn't even do a debate. You know, there were no debates between Trump and Biden. It might have been like 2 or 3, maybe, but there weren't really any debates. They basically hid from Trump, hid from him, and then played the old switcheroo, and Biden was in office. I expect him to do the same thing here. You know, I expect the same thing. You think the establishment GOP? I expect so too. I mean, again, the establishment is the problem, and it's the problem for both sides because the radical progressives They don't like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and the guys who've been there for 30 years, because they're not going to get what they want, which is like universal health care and abolishing the police and a bunch of other dumb shit. They're not going to get what they want from them. They may get crumbs here and there, but they're not going to get what they want. So they hate the establishment. And also the establishment very often is tied up in Wall Street. So the Nancy Pelosi's and all that, they hate them people. So they're a problem, but they're a problem for the right too, because the establishment Republicans give in too easily. And they're all into managed decline. They don't care that much about changing or using power. They're more like, hey, America's going to sink. Let's make sure all the deck chairs are in order and everything as we go underwater. And people are sick of that shit. So the establishment is the problem in both extremes. And positioning yourself as being the person who represents that establishment is a problem, because everybody hates it. There's nobody who likes the establishment. People like normalcy. People like quiet, but they don't think they like the establishment. People who've been there 30, 40 years and all that, they don't like them. I can't think of anybody. And that's why it's a weird thing, because I know people who hate Trump, but I don't know anybody who's pro-Biden. Not one person. I don't know, not one person who actually likes Joe Biden. Everybody who voted for Joe Biden voted for him because they hated Donald Trump, which is an interesting way to win. And it seems like they're going to try to go for that again. It says, you heard of the film director that on the new Star Wars movie saying that she wants to make men uncomfortable. Well, look, I was talking about this with oh shit, I forget what the Barroom podcast, those guys. He was on Twitter talking about this, and I said, man, we like 10, 12 years into the culture war. We got to be done with problem recognition. This Star Wars movie, this superhero flick, is going to be just as woke as the ones before it. Ever since they started doing it, it's going to be the same thing over and over again. You can't expect people who hate you to all of a sudden let up. Not without some terrible resistance or a really good reason for them to do so. You haven't provided that. There is no good reason for these people who hate you to all of a sudden relinquish your multi-billion-dollar project that they love so much. Not when they can make tons of money sticking their dicks in it. And by dick, I don't necessarily mean literally. It could just be, sticking vulgar things into it. I think, and I know it sucks because Star Wars is so beloved by the fan base. I have never seen anything Star Wars, so I don't have that attachment. But I do sort of have that attachment with Star Trek. And I will say, in clear English, your Star Wars is dead. Stop holding out any hope that anything from Disney is going to all of a sudden be different than the last thing they put out. It's all going to be the same. They're going to fuck with you forevermore. And it's the same thing with like Doctor Who and Star Trek. I just say the same damn thing. Once you do it once or twice in a row, and even if that thing fails, you don't see like some kind of major upheaval behind it, just expect that they're rearranging the deck chairs. It's the same mentality going into the product. These people hate you, and they're going to use this property to talk about how much they hate you. That's the message. The message is they hate you. They want to destroy it. They want to profit off of it, but they also want to destroy it. And so the idea that, these women are getting in these positions and saying dumb shit, it's like they've been doing this for a decade, man. It's been over 10 years since you've had it. If you are a fan of Star Wars, what was the last great thing from Star Wars that you had that wasn't fucked with like gender or race-based politics? What was the last thing? It's probably over a decade ago. They're not giving it back. It's over. Just let it go. Tap out. And that's the thing. I was like, I know that people, especially those of us who grew up with certain things. Like it was really hard for me to let go of reading like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics, especially once I started getting into them, the IDW comics. I was like, oh my god, I love these joints, but I had to turn away. Like Sophie Campbell just wants to keep writing Jenica and putting Jenica in everything, and it was all there was no action, and it was just stupid and it was garbage. And I was like, look, I just got to turn away from it, you know. And enough people finally turned away from it that you know now Sophie Campbell is leaving. They're going to replace him with Jason Aaron, and I'm just kind of like, oh my god, I I don't know, man. So it's been almost 20 years since Star Wars has done anything decent. If your franchise has been stagnant for 20 years, that shit dead. I'd say the same thing to X-Men fans. A lot of X-Men fans keep thinking, oh, they put a new writer on the X-Men comics, things are going to be different now. Oh, they putting out a new X-Men movie, it's going to be different now. It's not. It's not ever going back the way that it was. It's never going to be that way. This is an infection that kills the host. It's never going back. And if it does eventually go back, you make them prove it by consistently putting out good shit. The same way they got your attention the first time is how they should have to get your attention the second time. They should have to consistently put out good stuff. We already passed, like what they say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. I don't think that's the real definition of insanity, considering I work with literally insane people. But I can tell you straight up, it's over. Disney owns Star Wars. It's not like they got the license and you gotta wait it out. They own it. They're going to butt fuck it every way possible. Next thing you know, they're going to be gay ass Jedi's with titties and balls and everything. It's going to be a shit show. So why are you sitting around thinking it's going to be anything else? Just accept the fact that these Kathleen Kennedys or whatever have got the property. Again, they don't just own the license; they own the property. It is theirs. It's over. There can be no argument. That's why I don't talk to people about Marvel comics anymore. It's like, yes, they fucked over Captain America, and they fucked over Black Panther, and they fucked over the X-Men, they fuck over Spider-Man all the time. But they own it. They own it. And the money gained and the money lost is theirs. It's not a situation where if they fail, somebody else is going to come in and fix it. No, because we tried that. We've done that. We've had bombs. And they just keep fucking going because it doesn't matter. We're in a post-success element in American media. Again, we started talking about Sports Illustrated. Don't you think once they got, I would imagine they're in some kind of debt or in deficit or something. Wouldn't you imagine like that's the time where you would notice that something needs to change when you've got weeks after weeks and months after months of lost revenue that you would turn it around? No, that's not, because they don't care. They live in a post-capitalist system where not making money is not a problem because it's not your money. It's somebody else's shit. Somebody else owns this. They gave me if somebody gave you the keys to their car, you can drive it how you want to. Yes, you would think, you know what, somebody gave you the keys to their car, I'm going to be a good steward of their car. I'm going to put gas in it. I ain't going to put no scratches on it. I ain't going to get no tickets in it. But then you're going to have those irresponsible people who are going to be like, well, this shit ain't mine, so I'm going to drive a little closer than I should. I may even get drunk behind the wheel because it ain't mine. I don't care. And they have that mentality. It ain't theirs. They don't care. And it's about every major franchise that people spend all day talking about on Twitter. All the people talking about Tomb Raider. Oh, they keep changing how she looks, and Laura Croft's titties, this and that. I'm like, bro, it's over. They've gotten their fangs so deep into Tomb Raider. It's been over 10 years since they put their fangs in Tomb Raider. It's over. Why are we arguing about that? It's over, bro. WG Phil says, I see people loving the Ultimate Spider-Man. Oh, yeah, the first issue. Oh, yeah. See, the thing is, Hickman doesn't have a history of doing a lot of the woke shit. He really don't. But he writes very wordy comics, you know. So it might be good, but it ain't. It probably won't be like action packed. I can't think of a Hickman, especially superhero comic, that I can think of that's been like super action packed. You know, it may be good characterization and stuff like that, but Hickman isn't really known for doing too much of the woke shit. But if he's just going to start it and then pass it off to someone else like he did with X-Men, then yeah, just expect it to be one of his cronies is going to pick it up and, you know, call it a day. Hasbro is on the brink of bankruptcy, and they have a toy license with Marvel and Star Wars. But you see what they did with their comics? See, Hasbro, they started losing money on the comics. They took that shit from IDW and gave it to I forget what it's called, the Walking Dead guy, Kirkman. They gave it to Kirkman's organization. And I heard it's doing a lot better in terms of quality and sales and everything. But that's a situation where you can actually change things because Hasbro gave a fuck. They were trying to sell action figures, and they say, hey, look, our Transformers is fucked. Our G.I. Joe things are fucked. What are we going to do? We can't let IDW kill our product. So they took their product from IDW and gave it to somebody else who cares or who would care. You can't do that with a lot of characters. Spider-Man, Batman, all that is over. These mega corps own them. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, they're gonna have a loop drag. Uh, is that better or worse than what he's doing now? I don't know. But yeah, I don't concern myself with anything new really. Everything new, I just assume is woke. Unless even if I heard otherwise, I assume there's still some woke elements in it. That's why when I watched Blue Eye Samurai, I was looking for it. I had to be more aware, you know. But I mean, that's just how it is, man. You gotta just accept the bitter with the sweet. When something gets made, you can just guarantee strong female character, emasculating the men. The men are ineffectual or too there to talk about how great she is and all that kind of stuff. And the glad hand and ass kiss and hopefully get their pee-pee touched and their belly rubbed. You know, he's not going to get to be the hero. He's certainly not going to be a strong hero. Like, you can just pretty much look at that shit and call it a day. WG feels that I honestly think WWE will erode and die after Triple H leaves. As much as I dislike the black and gold, thinking we gotta enjoy this run while it's here. Well, there's there's some elements of truth to you know to that. I don't think it's gonna be when Triple H leaves. I think the moment somebody who don't know shit about wrestling starts to control the company, you know, but I expect Triple H to be there for like 10 years or something. Like, I know he's got a bad heart, but I think he can make it a decade. You know, I don't think he can make it 10 if he don't have, bonk out or anything like that. But I would imagine there's some kind of system set up where if he conks out, somebody else is going to take up the spot. But then that person has to be picked by Endeavor. So that's going to be problematic. Because what if he picks fucking Michael Hayes? You know, like what if you pick Bruce? What if it's Bruce? Well, Bruce will probably conk out before Triple H will. But I don't know, man. Right now, I'm not a huge fan of what Triple H does, but I agree with you that we should just relax on it now because I'm pretty sure WrestleMania 48, 45, we gonna be looking like what the fuck, what's gonna happen, um, what's gonna happen when. Now I'm not even talking about when Triple H retires. I'm talking like when half of your top level guys are like 36, and in 4 or 5 years, most of them are gonna be gone. Like what are you gonna do when Brock ain't coming back? Roman ain't coming back. Orton ain't coming back. AJ Styles ain't coming back. LA Knight ain't coming back. Cody ain't coming back. McIntyre ain't coming back. That's going to be an interesting time. You know, that's going to be an interesting time. Like, who does the creative? I'm certainly thinking about that, but I'm certainly looking at like the roster too, because they're not positioning anybody young to be in the spot for when Roman eventually leaves. Cody and Roman are in the same age group. Roman is 38. Cody is 36. He's not going to be your guy for the next 20 years, for the next 15 years. He probably won't be around much longer after Roman retires. You know? So, I mean, he may decide to do the part-time gig over time, but what can you do? If Triple H can't do it, who should run WWE? Orton? No. It's probably going to be one of those bullshit writers back there. You know, I could see probably somebody who's been on the writing staff. That's why I say like Michael Hayes or Bruce, because there's somebody who's been on the writing staff for a long time already and know all the talent and everything. And they're gonna want like a quiet person to come in and take some power who are not going to change things too much and fuck everything up. But like I said, once all those guys are gone, it's going to be an interesting time. Who's going to be like the lead writer and the head of creative and all that kind of stuff, the booker. That's going to be an interesting time, especially when it's not a wrestler that they can lean on. Because Stone Cold Steve Austin ain't gonna fucking do it. The Rock ain't doing it. I don't know how much. I don't know how Shawn is still booking NXT. Like who are they gonna get to do this shit? I can't. William Regal maybe. Maybe William Regal ends up being the guy running the show. I don't know, but maybe it's Cody. He was an EVP. He's got some experience. Maybe it's him. Maybe Cody is going to position himself. Cody and CM Punk. I know CM Punk said he wanted to be a trainer. So maybe, Cody and CM Punk are going to run creative element for WWE. Punk knows how to produce the product. He knows how to write TV. Cody also knows how to write TV and produce the product. So in 10 years, I guess, and Triple H is gone, yeah, maybe Cody and Punk are running there. Or Cody or Punk. Who knows? I wouldn't suggest it be one of them, but they're the only guys I can think of that got like the experience that can do it. I don't see most of the other guys hanging around long enough to go through all that. I know Roman produces a lot of his own segments, but I don't think he's gonna do all that shit for everybody else. And Brock, same thing. I don't think he's gonna do that shit for everybody else. So my only guess is that Triple H has brought in two people that he thinks that if I conk out and you don't want to leave it to like fucking Michael Hayes, which I don't suggest. You got Punk here, knows how to write TV. He used to write Collision. He wrote OVW TV. He wrote some of his own storylines. He knows how to write TV. Maybe he'll do it. I don't know about. See, Paul is a good choice too, but Paul is up there in age. Asking Paul to do it is a lot. That's a lot for him to have to do by himself at this age. If Paul was 15 years younger, then yeah. But Paul was older than Triple H, as far as I know. So no way. I wouldn't see Paul being the guy that would be writing the product. Vince Russo, nope. No, I mean, Regal is still in NXT. He's still doing the recruiting thing. I would imagine that if Shawn decides to finally just be like, I'm done with this shit, I'm tired of NXT, that William Regal's going to take over NXT. And I would imagine that would be the case. I would imagine that's why they brought him back. Because Triple H was leaving and they need somebody to take over NXT. I'm surprised. Again, I'm still surprised Shawn is still there. Because he was only there because Triple H was sick. Now he's still hanging around. I'm surprised by that. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe around the time they started moving to the CW, they changed the head writer of NXT. Don't be surprised if all of a sudden Shawn's like, yeah, I'm done with this thing. Here, somebody take it. It probably won't be CM Punk. It'll probably be William Regal, though. And then when Triple H leaves, Regal will move up, and Punk will probably take Regal's spot. But I can definitely see Punk running NXT. I can definitely see that coming. Him or Cody. Or maybe they'll do something slick like they'll split Raw, SmackDown, and NXT and give them different creative directors. And they have to pitch ideas to fucking Bruce Pritchard, who's going to be the big boss all of a sudden with Vince on the phone still grumbling to him. Nash ain't coming back. Nash, he's not coming back. Regal has not been on TV since he came back. I don't know if that year is up yet. I think the year is up, but I don't know if it's up yet. Agent. A lot of people have said they wanted to be agent. I think John Cena said he wanted to be an agent too, but they're not going to let John Cena be an agent. You can forget it. No huge wrestling stars. In recent years have retired and just not went and been agents. Usually those guys go fuck home because they made money. People who end up being agents or producers are guys who really didn't make that much money in the business, or they made a decent living, but they can't live forever off royalty checks and shit. Which is again why I'm surprised Shawn Michaels is still there. But you don't see Undertaker going to be a fucking producer or Stone Cold Steve Austin or anything like that. I don't think it's a job that they will want. you know? So it's probably going to be, I guess definitely see like somebody like Natalia being a producer when she's done. Somebody like that. But I don't know. AJ Styles being a producer, that would be cool. There's also the opportunity, of course, of people doing like on-screen stuff, like being on-screen general managers and things like that, or moving over to color commentary. It would be nice if somebody did play-by-play, kind of like a Gorilla Monsoon kind of character. We're gonna give it to Tony. Let Tony book Raw. Akira Tozawa versus Seth Rollins in a 26-minute match. Tozawa kicks out of the stomp at 1, powers up, gets a second stomp, and gets pinned. It makes perfect sense, bro. And then he moves up 1.5 spots on the rankings to number 16 after beating the world champion. Oh my god. I don't think so. I try to find the humor in this stuff because it's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. A lot of these people are just plain stupid. But then again, there's a bunch of writers back there who probably would be angling to be like the head of creative. They just don't have the experience because it's been Vince for so long. The only people I can consider would even be in the running would be Michael Hayes and Bruce, Road Dogg. But I've never seen them produce anything on their own and said that was really good. I know Road Dogg was involved with NXT for a while. He said you have respect for Eastman owning the TNT master license. That's what true wealth generation. Isn't it owned by Nickelodeon? Nickelodeon owns TMNT. They Buddy sold his to Eastman, and Eastman sold a chunk of it to Nickelodeon. So Nickelodeon owns TMNT. They own the property. Jim Cornette. He probably wouldn't even do it. They own the TV and movie rights. Don't they own the characters, like the comic books and everything too? Because I know they the Nickelodeon logo was on some of that stuff. Triple H should hire a young independent wrestler to help him book show. Why would he do that? Most of those dudes don't know how to book shit. They can't even do anything. They suck. He should hire some young independent wrestlers to work NXT. That's if he needs a booker, I wouldn't go to the Indies. Who on the Indies is a good booker? Maybe they could bring in Gabe Sapolsky. Um, maybe Gabe Sapolsky has history booking talent, but he booked like Evolve and Dragon Gate. He never like in parts of ROH. He never booked like a multi-billion-dollar thing that was all him. He never had to do that. He says, I'm not sure how it works, but they allow TMNT to be an Injustice and Batman crossover. Well, yeah, I know that they still do crossover. They did like a crossover with Usagi Yojimbo last year too. But I'm pretty sure Nickelodeon owns the rights to TMNT as a property. Well, yeah, Joe Koff owned Ring of Honor, but Sapolsky was booking some of that stuff. Paramount bought Garfield too. Well, they're not going to do anything with Garfield. Garfield's a really old property. It might make a movie or something, but I don't see what they can actually do with that. I mean, it's been dormant for so long. You have to teach kids all over again who Garfield is, or you'll have to do it like nostalgia. But Garfield is one of those things that probably should never have slipped out of American consciousness because it was such a good comic series and it lasted for so long. Same thing with Charlie Brown. There's already a Garfield movie being made. Interesting. 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 Wonder how that's going to work out. Somebody need to tell Gennady Tartakovsky to make a Samurai Jack movie. A live action Samurai Jack movie. Or a live action Primal movie. Or a live action Dexter's Laboratory movie. Chris Pratt. Fuck. Oh, Chris Pratt. Well, there's no job Samuel L. Jackson won't do in Hollywood. That dude will do anything. He'll put on a wig. He'll put on a kilt. Sam Jackson is an actor's actor, boy. I tell you, he do everything. He do it all for no reason. He ain't got no reason to do any of that shit, and he be doing it. All right, about to start wrapping it up. What else y'all got? I don't know anything about that though. What? Easter Seal. Easter Seals. All right, y'all. Thank you all for stopping by. I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys later.